Hey guys, I'm Charles Neal. What we're going to talk about today is the way we build beds. And the way we do it has been around for centuries. And we simply use a good old-fashioned mortise and tenon and a bed bolt. We do a lot of beds. And this is just the way we put them together, and have never ever had an issue in any way, shape, or form. And I just thought I'd show you how we do it. Okay, this is our mock-up, and all we got is what we'll call a bed post. A little skinny for one, but it might make a twin, but nevertheless. And this is our bed rail. The first thing you're going to notice is we use a little wider tenon, but we don't have to have a super deep mortise. We're maybe 3/4 of an inch. Here's our mortise. Now we're going to translate to the back side and find our center. But here's a caution. We can't go dead center because on a bed we would have a side rail, headboard rail or foot rail, and so we've got to set it up so that when our bolts go in, they're offset so they don't run into each other. With that said, typically we want to keep at least 1 inch to 1.5 inches between where the bolts go through. Okay, I've got a Forstner bit set up here, and this one's probably a little bigger than I need, but all I want to do is drill a Forstner bit hole in the center of the post that's deep enough when the head of this bolt goes into it, it's hidden. I'll just eyeball it for now. That'll do. Now, why do I drill the Forstner bit hole first? The reason is the spur on the end of the Forstner bit is going to mark my dead center in the hole. Now I'm going to switch bits, and we'll be right back. Okay, my bed bolt is 3/8 of an inch. But I have found that you don't want that bolt really super tight in there. So I drill a 7/16 hole. Simple enough. Okay. Now what I've got, and this just allows the bolt to pass through easily. Don't hang up or anything else. Now you can see my little rig here. Because this little short bed rail, normally you're going to have something, you know, if you got a king or queen, if it's a side rail, it's going to be, well, a king is 76 wide, 80 inches long. That's the mattress. And a queen is 80 long and 60 wide. So you got some long rails. So you got to usually rig up a little something, just something to hold it up tight. Now, what I do is, you got 2 bed rolls. You can get a 6-inch or a 7. This happens to be a 7 I've got laid up here. But what I want to do is I want to mark a center about halfway up the threads. And I'm just making sure. Now you notice I've got the bed bolt head back here. Okay. Now we're going to be drilling that just in a minute. 7/16 bit. Long one. Now, this is a brad point. Don't have a clue where I got it. But I've seen at Lowe's they make what's called aircraft bits. No, they're just a regular split point bit. They do fine, used them for years. That hole that you drilled in this post is now acting like a drill guide. Now, a little trick, a little hint. When you're drilling this, put a little bit of an up. This is going to be my inside. Put just a little bit of an upward angle on. Now, what I'm doing at the moment is I'm going to set this thing up just so I can make sure I don't go all the way through. That would definitely ruin your day. Don't ask how I know. Now let's clean everything out again. Now, typically on your side rail, they need to be about a minimum of 1.25 inches. Apologize, you can't see my number but back. What I was doing, all I'm doing is put my bed bolt in, drop my nut down in the hole, and secure it. I do apologize. Usually I've got a bed wrench, but I don't have one right here. This is a 3/8 socket extension. Put in a drill backwards. We are bolted up. You will see where a lot of guys, rather than drill this Forstner bit hole, will take a mortiser and mortise down in so the nut slides down in and all that. And that's fine. And then they make a little wooden cap to go over it to hide it. I've tried that. But you still got to kind of finagle, make sure the nut stays in the right place and all that. Not me. Oh, I'm going to hear about this one. But man, I've been doing this forever. And I'll explain a little more. What I have here is Bondo. Okay, bear with me. Now I'm going to show you a couple of things. First of all, my Bondo's done kind of set and got a little bit stiff on me. It happens. I'm going to make a little well in the center. As many of you know, I did auto body stuff for many years. This is just a little bit of lacquer thinner. Now they also make a thinner for this, but I don't have any. Because you want it nice and creamy. And the lacquer thinner will take care of that. Kind of thins it a little bit, makes it creamier and easier to work. You probably already figured out what I want to do. And if you think I'm going to take Bondo and fill that hole, You're absolutely 100% correct. If you're one of these who wants to make sure that that hole's as invisible as possible, you can also take trans tint dye and add it to it and color it. But we just usually, if we're dyeing or staining our bed rails, we just go right over top of the Bondo, and it's colored well enough. I mean, it's down inside where you don't see it. But the other thing is, by being able to see it, should you ever have to dig it out, it's easy to find. But the other thing that I have found with the Bondo, and we tested this, is what we're going to do, that hole, that nut, everything in there is encapsulated in body filler. Now that bolt and that nut are both steel. A good idea is to coat the inside of that nut and the threads on your bolt with a little bit of oil, wax, or something to prevent rust internally. But by encapsulating this bolt, I've never had one rust. I've never had an issue in any way, shape, or form. Push it down in there good. Because what it's going to do is it's going to push in around that nut and everything, and when this thing goes back together, that bolt is going to go in there. You would think you were actually bolting up a piece of steel. Okay, we're going to let our Bondo set up a little bit, and we'll be right back. Oh yeah, ain't nothing like the smell of Bondo in the morning, camera girl says. Well, once it's set up pretty decent, then I'll level it down. Oh my Lord, Edith, would you look? That fool is using a hand plane to plane Bondo. Works great. That's good enough for now. Knock it off with a little random orbit sander and you're done. Here's the fun part. Now your first initial thought's going to be that that Bondo is going to get around those threads and seize it. Doesn't happen. Okay. Now then, the next time, or when the customer goes to put it together, bed rail in, slip your bolt in, and I'm going to tell you, you build 10 beds and you're standing them, this thing, man, you talk about a shoulder saver. Bingo. Now, I'm going to tell you something. That thing is locked in tight, never going to move. But there's one other thing I want you to think about. Years ago, we were building a lot of tables, still do. And when these tables had to get shipped all over the country, you know, shipping a table isn't an easy thing to do. So here's what we come up with. We would build the end of the table with 2 legs, you know, because they were, you know, usually narrower. But then the long sides, we would take a bed bolt, bolt it together, just like this. Then we could just remove the end and lay it flat, and then lay the side rails in. They simply put it together with 4 bed bolts and done. Now, one of the things we found in doing those tables, and the reason I'm mentioning this, there's a lot of guys out there doing tables, but again, shipping them is an issue. And if you can flat pack them, hey, all the better. But, you know, typically where we use this piece of 8/4 and come and we told you 1.25 inches is probably the minimum thickness. You know, you don't want to always have to do that on the side rail of a table. Well, that's very, very simple. Here's what we wound up doing. We would simply take a piece of 7/8, 3/4, whatever our side rail was, and on the end of it, just laminate another piece to make up the thickness to give us room to inset our bed bolt. Done deal. Just food for thought. And then get you a nice, pretty bed bolt cover. Put on it. You just added another decorative element to your table or whatever you're doing, and hey, been doing it this way for a long time and no issue. Give them a shot. Sure makes for a nice bed. And I mean, I'm telling you, you bolt them up like that, you can actually grab a bedpost, and not that I recommend it, but you can actually grab one post and pull a bed and it doesn't right twist. Man, it makes a super joint. And these things don't shake, rattle, or roll. Just the way we do it, and we'll continue. Catch you later.